let's talk about the first rule for a life that truly works: taking full responsibility for your life. You see, everything begins here. Responsibility is not a burden, it's the birth of power. The moment you decide that your life is your own doing, the good and the bad, the wins and the losses, you suddenly become the architect instead of the victim. Most people never reach that point. They spend years pointing fingers at their parents, their bosses, the government, the weather, or their luck. But here's the truth: blame keeps you powerless. Responsibility gives you control. I remember Jim Rohn saying, "You cannot hire someone else to do your push-ups for you." That one sentence holds the secret to transformation. No one can take your place in the gym of life. No one can develop your discipline, sharpen your thinking, or strengthen your character. Those are personal assignments, and life doesn't allow substitutions. Once you understand that, you stop waiting for rescue and start working on results. Responsibility is the great separator between those who live life by design and those who live it by default. The default life says, "It's not my fault." The designed life says, "Even if it's not my fault, it's still my responsibility." That mindset shift changes everything, because when you own the outcomes, you also own the opportunity to change them. Now, taking responsibility doesn't mean taking the blame for everything that happens. That's guilt. Responsibility is different. It's the ability to respond, to choose your attitude, your actions, your next step. You can't always control circumstances, but you can always control how you show up. That's the inner power successful people use every single day. They don't waste energy on what they can't change. They focus on what they can influence. There's a kind of quiet dignity in responsibility. It says, "I am the cause, not the effect. I move the needle. I am not waiting for conditions to improve. I improve them." This is not arrogance, it's awareness. It's understanding that you are the central factor in your own equation. The economy doesn't make you rich or poor. Your philosophy does. Your background doesn't define you, your decisions do. And let's be honest, it's much easier to complain than to commit. It's easier to explain why things didn't work out than to ask, "What could I have done differently?" But success lies in that question. When you start examining your role in every outcome, you develop wisdom. You stop repeating mistakes. You start creating patterns that produce results. Some people say, "But Jim, you don't know my situation." That's true, I don't. But here's what I do know: whatever your situation, you still have the power to choose your response. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the horrors of the concentration camps, said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." If he could claim that freedom in those conditions, what excuse do we have in ours? When you take responsibility, life begins to respect you. Doors open that were once invisible. People trust you because responsibility breeds reliability. Opportunities flow to those who can handle them. And that's the real reward, not just success, but the kind of self-respect that comes from knowing you are dependable even to yourself. Think about the alternative. If you don't take responsibility, someone else will, and they'll control your future. The company decides, the system decides, the crowd decides. And the tragedy is, you'll wake up one day realizing that you've lived everyone's plan but your own. That's not how a life that works is built. The good news is, responsibility is not something you're born with. It's something you decide on. You can start today wherever you are. Start by taking ownership of your time, your health, your emotions, your results. Don't say, "I have to." Say, "I choose to." That single language shift rewires your thinking from victimhood to leadership. And here's a subtle truth: the more responsibility you accept, the more freedom you gain. Most people think it's the opposite, that responsibility limits them. But the truth is, it's the key that unlocks freedom. Because when you're responsible, you're no longer waiting for the world to change. You're the one changing it. You move from reaction to creation. So, if you want a life that works, don't run from responsibility, run toward it. Embrace it as your greatest ally. Make it your daily philosophy. The weight may feel heavy at first, but with time it becomes strength. And that strength will carry you through anything life throws your way. Because in the end, success doesn't come to the most talented or the most fortunate. It comes to the most responsible. Take full responsibility for your life, and you'll never have to wait for permission to change it. If the first rule is taking full responsibility for your life, then the second rule is knowing exactly what kind of life you're taking responsibility for. Because responsibility without direction can turn into frustration. You can be disciplined, hardworking, even sincere, and still end up far from where you wanted to go if you never defined where there was in the first place. Jim Rohn often said, "If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much." That's the harsh but liberating truth. Most people drift through life like a ship without a compass, busy, active, moving, but never arriving. The only way to live a life that works is to have a clear vision and a definite purpose. A vision is the mental picture of the life you want to live. It's what gives meaning to effort and direction to energy. Purpose is the why behind that picture. The reason you get up in the morning. The force that keeps you from quitting when it gets hard. When vision and purpose align, life takes on structure. Each day stops being random and starts being intentional. Here's the irony. People will spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they will planning their life. They'll research hotels, compare flights, look up restaurants. But when it comes to the next 5 or 10 years, they just hope it will work out. Hope is a wonderful companion, but it's a terrible strategy. You need a blueprint. You need to design your own future with as much precision as you design a house. To do that, start with questions. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Who do I want to become? What kind of contribution do I want to make? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. Because clarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds consistency. When you know your destination, you stop being swayed by every opinion or setback. You move with intention. The mind is like a garden. Without a clear vision, weeds of distraction and doubt take over. But when you plant seeds of purpose, specific goals, written plans, measurable targets, your energy begins to organize itself. Opportunities that used to go unnoticed start appearing, not because they're new, but because you finally have eyes to see them. One of the most powerful habits Jim Rohn taught was writing down your goals. Not typing them, but writing them. Because writing crystallizes thought and gives form to desire. A vague dream like, I want to be successful isn't enough. What does success mean to you? More freedom, better health, stronger relationships, a legacy that outlives you. Define it, describe it, and then design the daily disciplines that bring it closer. Vision isn't just about the future, it's about how you live in the present. When you have purpose, you make better choices today because you understand how they connect to tomorrow. You stop wasting time on what doesn't align with your direction. You become selective with your energy, your company, your commitments. You stop saying yes to everything that comes along because you're already saying yes to something bigger. And remember, a clear vision doesn't mean a perfect plan. Life will test you. Circumstances will shift. But if your purpose is solid, you'll adapt instead of abandon. The road may change, but the destination remains. That's the beauty of having a why. It becomes your internal compass. When the storms come, and they always do, it points you back to true north. There's also a psychological advantage to purpose. When you live with a sense of mission, you stop being easily discouraged. Setbacks become lessons instead of verdicts. Discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like alignment. You move from chasing pleasure to pursuing meaning, and meaning, not comfort, is what ultimately makes life rich. Your vision should also be bigger than you. Something that challenges you to grow, to stretch, to evolve. If your goals don't scare you a little, they're not big enough. Comfort never creates greatness. Purpose does. A compelling vision pulls you forward even when motivation fades. It whispers, there's more in you. Keep going. Yeah, so take the time to imagine your ideal life. Picture it clearly. Write it down. Break it into steps. And then live every day as though your actions are votes for that vision. Because they are. Every decision, every habit, every conversation is either moving you closer to your purpose or further away from it. In the end, clarity of vision transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. It gives your work meaning and your day's direction. And the best part, when you design your own life, you no longer chase success. It follows you. Decide what you want, commit to your purpose, and let your vision pull you toward the life you were meant to live. Let's talk about the third rule for a life that truly works. Mastering the art of self-discipline. If responsibility is the foundation and vision is the direction, then discipline is the bridge that connects the two. Without discipline, dreams stay on paper, and good intentions dissolve into excuses. You can know what you want. You can even believe you deserve it, but without the discipline to act consistently, life won't deliver much. Jim Rohn said it best, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But now, discipline isn't about punishment or restriction. It's about self-respect. It's the decision to keep your word to yourself, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unseen. Most people think motivation creates success, but motivation fades. Discipline remains. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going when the excitement is gone. We live in a time where distraction has become an art form. Everywhere you look, something is trying to steal your focus. Notifications, entertainment, noise. Discipline is the quiet rebellion against that noise. It's saying, I choose my direction. I won't let the world decide it for me. It's freedom through structure. Think of discipline as the muscle of character. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do. Wake up early, study, save money, exercise, work on your craft, that muscle grows stronger. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, it weakens. The truth is, everyone pays a price. You either pay the price of discipline now, or you pay the price of regret later. The difference is that discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. Discipline also builds identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your values, you begin to trust yourself. You no longer need external validation because you know deep down that you can depend on your own decisions. That kind of self-trust is rare, and it's powerful. It makes you resilient in the face of chaos. Some people misunderstand discipline. They think it takes away spontaneity or joy. But the opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom, freedom from chaos, from guilt, from uncertainty. When you've done the work, you can enjoy the reward without anxiety. When your finances are in order, you sleep better. When your health is cared for, you move with more energy. When your habits are consistent, your mind becomes calm. That's not limitation, that's liberation. Jim Rohn often said, "We must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret." The first weighs ounces, the second weighs tons. So, the question isn't whether life will demand something from you. It's whether you'll choose to pay in discipline or disappointment. Discipline is also deeply psychological. It's not about fighting yourself. It's about understanding yourself. It's about training your mind to obey your higher values rather than your temporary moods. Everyone feels resistance. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that the disciplined ones act in spite of it. They've learned that feelings are temporary, but results last. And remember, discipline doesn't have to start big. It's not about transforming your entire life overnight. It's about small, consistent commitments. Read 10 pages a day, save a small percentage of your income, exercise for 20 minutes. Over time, these small disciplines compound. Jim called it the miracle of discipline. The idea that small efforts, repeated daily, create massive results over time. There's also a moral side to discipline. It builds integrity. When you discipline yourself to do what's right, even when it's unpopular or unseen, you build character, and character is destiny. Discipline shapes not just what you achieve, but who you become. It refines you into the kind of person capable of handling greater responsibility and reward. In the end, discipline isn't just about control, it's about creation. It's how you turn potential into performance, goals into reality, and ideas into legacy. Without it, talent is wasted, opportunity is lost, and time slips through your fingers. But with it, everything you touch begins to work. Your health, your relationships, your finances, your future. So don't see discipline as restriction. See it as your greatest ally. Every moment you practice it, you build strength. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you build momentum. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you move closer to the life that works. Because success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. Master the art of self-discipline, and you'll no longer wonder if your life will work. You'll know it will. There's a saying that captures this next rule perfectly. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Jim Rohn repeated that line for decades because it holds a timeless truth. The kind of growth that truly transforms your life doesn't come from school alone. It comes from the ongoing decision to keep learning, to keep stretching, to keep becoming more. The fourth rule for a life that works is to constantly invest in personal growth. Everything in life improves when you improve. Your circumstances, your opportunities, your income, your relationships, all of them rise or fall to the level of your personal development. If you want life to get better, you have to get better. If you want things to change, you must change first. Growth isn't automatic. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you're getting wiser. Maturity doesn't come from age. It comes from awareness, reflection, and deliberate effort. The difference between people who merely exist and those who truly evolve is that the latter make growth a daily habit. They see learning not as a phase, but as a lifestyle. Jim Rohn would often talk about working harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's not to say work isn't important, it is. But your work will always reflect your personal development. The skills you build, the attitude you bring, the mindset you carry. These are what determine your value in the marketplace. You can't expect to earn more or live more unless you become more. And here's something remarkable: growth compounds. Just like money earns interest when you invest it, knowledge and discipline earn returns when you apply them. Reading one book might not change your life overnight, but reading one book a month for 5 years will transform how you think, speak, and act. Attending one seminar might give you a few ideas, but making personal development a lifelong pursuit can change your entire identity. Now, personal growth isn't only about acquiring knowledge. It's about applying it. You can have all the information in the world and still remain stuck if you never act on it. Growth is measured not by how much you know, but by how much you practice. Knowledge turns into wisdom only when it's lived. Start with your mind. Feed it every day with ideas that challenge you, not just comfort you. Read philosophy, psychology, history, biographies of great thinkers and doers. Listen to those who've achieved what you admire, but also reflect. Learning without reflection is noise. Reflection without learning is stagnation. The two must work together. Growth also happens through environment. Surround yourself with people who push you forward, not those who hold you back. Jim used to say, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So ask yourself, who's influencing your thinking? Who's shaping your habits? If you spend time with people who complain, you'll start complaining. If you spend time with people who grow, you'll start growing. Another key to growth is humility, the willingness to admit that you don't know it all. The most successful people in any field are lifelong students. They never stop learning because they know mastery is a moving target. The moment you think you've arrived, you start to decline. Keep curiosity alive. Let every experience, even the painful ones, teach you something. Growth also requires discomfort. You cannot evolve inside your comfort zone. Progress demands challenge, and challenge demands courage. Every time you face fear, you expand what's possible for you. Every time you push through resistance, you earn a little more freedom. Growth isn't always pleasant, but it's always worth it. And here's something important. Personal development is not selfish. When you become better, you become more valuable to others. You have more to give, more wisdom, more patience, more perspective, more skill. You can only pour from a full cup. So fill your cup daily. Work on your character, your communication, your leadership, your empathy. These are the qualities that create not just success, but significance. Investing in your personal growth also builds confidence. When you know you're improving, you stop comparing yourself to others. You compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's real progress, not competition, but evolution. And that kind of quiet confidence draws opportunities to you, because the world naturally rewards those who grow. In the end, your future will be determined not by the conditions you face, but by the person you become in response to them. Conditions change, character endures. Skills can be lost, mindset stays. That's why personal growth is not an option. It's a requirement for a life that works. So commit to becoming a lifelong learner. Read, listen, observe, reflect. Invest time, money, and energy into becoming the best version of yourself. Because the greatest investment you'll ever make isn't in stocks or property or business. It's in your own development. Everything else flows from that. Work harder on yourself than you do on anything else, and soon everything else will begin to work for you. There's a quiet but undeniable truth about success and fulfillment. No one does it alone. You can have the right goals, the right mindset, and even the right work ethic. But if you're surrounded by the wrong people, your progress will always be limited. That brings us to the 5th rule for a life that works: cultivate positive associations. Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." At first, that sounds like just another catchy line. But if you look deeper, it's one of the most profound insights into human behavior. The people around you shape your beliefs, your energy, and ultimately your destiny. Think about it. Our environment influences us far more than we realize. Spend enough time with complainers, and soon you'll find reasons to complain. Surround yourself with thinkers, and you'll begin to think deeper. It's not magic, it's psychology. We unconsciously adopt the language, attitudes, and expectations of those we associate with most. So if you want your life to rise, your circle must rise first. This doesn't mean you judge or abandon people. It means you become intentional about where you invest your time and emotional energy. There's a difference between helping someone grow and letting someone drain your growth. One adds to your spirit, the other subtracts from it. And life is too short to spend it constantly refilling what someone else keeps emptying. We all have 3 kinds of relationships in life: those that lift us, those that keep us level, and those that pull us down. The key is balance. Spend more time with lifters, stay mindful of levelers, and set boundaries with those who pull you down. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're protection. Protect your energy like you would protect your health or your finances. Because energy, mental, emotional, spiritual, is your greatest currency. Positive associations don't just make you feel good, they make you better. When you're around people who are striving for something, building, learning, improving, it ignites something in you. You begin to see what's possible. You absorb their ambition, their discipline, their belief. It's contagious, but in the best way possible. That's why mentors are so powerful. A good mentor doesn't just give you advice. They expand your awareness. They show you what excellence looks like, what consistency feels like, what integrity means in action. They remind you that success isn't luck, it's structure. And when you're in their presence, something inside you wants to rise to the standard they live by. But here's the flip side. Negative associations are just as contagious. The wrong company will dull your instincts, cloud your judgment, and lower your expectations without you even noticing. It starts small, a sarcastic joke here, a cynical comment there, but over time it rewires your attitude toward life. Before you know it, you're thinking smaller, settling faster, and believing less. Jim Rohn used to say, "Don't join an easy crowd, you won't grow. Go where the expectations are high. That's wisdom. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones, and comfort zones are often surrounded by people who prefer mediocrity because it asks nothing of them. If you're the smartest or most driven person in your circle, it's time to find a new circle. Now, cultivating positive associations doesn't mean cutting everyone off who isn't successful. Success isn't the only measure. Character, kindness, honesty, gratitude, curiosity, resilience. These are also the marks of people worth being around. Look for those who inspire you to be better, not those who simply impress you. And let's not forget, you also have a role in this equation. Be the kind of person others are proud to associate with. Lift others as you climb. Encourage, don't compete. Celebrate others' success without envy, because the best relationships are built on mutual growth, where everyone involved becomes stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled together. If you can create a circle like that, one based on positivity, purpose, and personal development, you'll find that life starts to work on an entirely new level. Your ideas will expand, your standards will rise, and your spirit will stay fueled. So, take a moment to evaluate your associations. Who's influencing you right now? Who challenges you, supports you, believes in you? And who drains you, distracts you, or discourages you? Be honest. Because your environment is either feeding your future or starving it. As Jim Rohn said, don't let your friendships be accidents. Let them be decisions. Choose wisely. Build a network that reflects your values and amplifies your potential. Because the company you keep today will determine the life you keep tomorrow. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher, and life itself will start lifting with them. There's a principle in life that separates those who feel rich from those who are constantly chasing riches. And it has nothing to do with money. It's the principle of gratitude and generosity. Jim Rohn captured it beautifully when he said, "Learn to be thankful for what you already have while you pursue all that you want." That's the sixth rule for a life that works. Practice gratitude and generosity. Gratitude is one of the most powerful mental disciplines a person can develop. It changes how you see the world. Most people live in a constant state of not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough recognition, not enough progress. They're always waiting for more before they decide to feel thankful. But gratitude reverses that equation. It says, I choose to feel rich now, not because I have everything I want, but because I appreciate everything I have. And when you live that way, something extraordinary happens. Your life expands. Gratitude turns your focus from scarcity to abundance. You stop seeing problems as punishments and start seeing them as teachers. You stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against who you used to be. Gratitude doesn't ignore challenges. It simply refuses to let them define you. Jim often said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That's the essence of gratitude. It's not passive acceptance. It's active appreciation. It's recognizing that even difficulty carries value. Every setback brings a lesson. Every delay strengthens patience. Every loss deepens empathy. Gratitude allows you to extract wisdom from every experience. But gratitude doesn't stand alone. It's most powerful when paired with generosity. Gratitude fills you. Generosity releases you. Together, they create flow, the cycle of receiving and giving that keeps life rich and meaningful. You can't hold on to abundance. You can only circulate it. Generosity isn't just about money. It's about spirit. It's giving time, encouragement, attention, and kindness. It's choosing to leave every person a little better than you found them. It's listening without judgment, helping without expectation, sharing without calculation. The most generous people aren't always the wealthiest. They're simply the ones who understand that giving multiplies what they already have. When you give, you make room for more to flow in. That's a universal law. Life responds to openness. The closed hand can't receive. The open hand can. So when you give of your resources, your wisdom, your love, you signal to life that you trust in its abundance. You affirm, there's enough to go around. That belief creates expansion, both inwardly and outwardly. Gratitude and generosity also protect the soul from arrogance. Success can be intoxicating. It can make you forget where you started or who helped you along the way. Gratitude keeps you grounded. It reminds you that everything you have, your talents, opportunities, health, is borrowed time and borrowed grace. Generosity keeps you humble by turning success into service. It ensures your growth benefits others, not just yourself. Now, some might say, I'll give when I have more. But that's not how the law of generosity works. Giving isn't about amount. It's about attitude. If you can't share a little now, you won't share a lot later. The habit of giving must begin before abundance arrives, not after. It's a mindset that says, I already have enough to bless someone else. And that mindset attracts more than any strategy ever could. There's also a deep emotional power in gratitude. It quiets anxiety and dissolves envy. You can't be truly thankful and deeply fearful at the same time. One emotion cancels out the other. Gratitude rebalances the mind. It reminds you of the miracle of being alive, of having choices, of learning, of loving, of beginning again. It's impossible to be bitter and grateful in the same moment. One light drives out the other, and gratitude is that light. So, how do you practice this rule in daily life? Start simply. Every morning, list 3 things you're thankful for. Not grand things, small ones. The taste of coffee, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of someone's laughter. Those moments, noticed and named, begin to shift your perspective. Then, look for one way each day to give something. A word of encouragement, a small favor, a moment of patience. You'll start to see how much abundance already surrounds you. And here's the secret. The more grateful and generous you become, the more attractive you become. Not in appearance, but in energy. People gravitate toward those who radiate appreciation and kindness. They trust them. They want to work with them, help them, follow them. Gratitude and generosity create influence, and influence builds legacy. When you live with a thankful heart and a generous spirit, life seems to work with you instead of against you. You attract opportunities, deepen relationships, and experience joy not just in what you get, but in what you give. So be thankful as you strive and be generous as you rise. Gratitude will keep your heart full, and generosity will keep your soul alive. If you've taken full responsibility for your life, defined your vision, built discipline, invested in growth, chosen positive associations, and cultivated gratitude, there's one more principle that ties it all together. The 7th rule for a life that works is to live with integrity and faith. Jim Rohn often said, "Character is the highest form of intelligence." That statement might sound simple, but it carries enormous depth. Because in the end, the true measure of a person isn't what they achieve. It's who they become while achieving it. You can have all the success in the world, wealth, recognition, influence, but without integrity, it's hollow. Integrity is what makes success meaningful. Integrity is doing what's right when it's inconvenient, when no one is watching, when cutting corners seems easier. It's keeping promises, not because you have to, but because you said you would. It's aligning your behavior with your beliefs, even when the world tempts you to compromise. Integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's choosing truth over comfort, principle over popularity, substance over show. And here's something powerful: integrity creates trust, and trust creates influence. The most respected people in any field aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the most trustworthy. When your words and actions match, people believe in you. They follow you. They open doors for you because they know who you are. That's the invisible currency of life, credibility. And it can't be bought. It must be earned through character. Integrity also brings peace. A life that works isn't just one that looks good on the outside. It's one that feels right on the inside. When you live honestly, you don't have to hide. You don't have to remember what you said last time. You don't have to juggle lies or maintain masks. You can rest easy knowing your outer life reflects your inner truth. That kind of peace is priceless. But integrity alone isn't enough. It must be paired with faith. Faith in what? Faith in the process, faith in timing, faith in yourself, and faith in something greater than yourself. Because life won't always unfold neatly. Even when you do the right things, challenges will come. There will be seasons when effort seems unrewarded, when doors close, when outcomes don't make sense. That's where faith steps in, to remind you that the story isn't over yet. Jim Rohn used to say, for every disciplined effort, there is a multiple reward. Notice he didn't say, an immediate reward. Faith fills the space between effort and reward. It keeps you steady when progress is invisible. It helps you trust that every seed you plant will eventually grow. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in time. Faith is also the antidote to fear. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? Fear shrinks possibilities, faith expands them. Fear waits for proof, faith moves before it arrives. And here's the paradox. The more you live with integrity, the easier faith becomes. Because when you know you're doing what's right, you can stand tall in uncertainty. You can endure the waiting because you're walking in alignment. Living with integrity and faith also means understanding that everything you do sends a message to others, but also to yourself. Every time you act with honesty, patience, or kindness, you strengthen your belief that you're someone who can be trusted. Every time you break your word or act from fear, you weaken that belief. Faith grows through alignment. Integrity sustains that faith. Integrity and faith are also the two great equalizers. You don't need wealth, status, or talent to live them. Anyone can choose honesty. Anyone can choose trust. And that's why they're so powerful, because they're available to all but practiced by few. Now, some people think faith is blind, that it means ignoring reality. But true faith isn't blind, it's visionary. It sees beyond the immediate to the ultimate. It recognizes that life's timing is wiser than ours, that sometimes the doors that close are the ones that protect us, that sometimes the setbacks are actually setups for something greater. When you combine integrity and faith, life begins to work on a higher level. Integrity keeps you grounded in truth. Faith keeps you moving forward in hope. One gives you roots, the other gives you wings. Together, they create balance, the strength to stand firm and the courage to keep going. And here's the beauty of it all. A person of integrity and faith becomes a source of light in a dark world. People can sense it. They may not always say it, but they feel it. They know they can trust you, rely on you, and draw inspiration from you. That's real success. To live in such a way that your life becomes a quiet example of what